So, in this week's Parshat, we have another installment of the Einayim of Nachum Chernobyl, and it's really very, as always, it's very relevant to the situation that we're in. And this week's teaching is really one of the most important things. It's about our fight against evil, and how we fight this, how we fight this war, how we wage battle against evil. And it's about a mitzvah that we have in this week's parsha, which is very unique. That there's a mitzvah in the stories of Bereshit. There's almost no mitzvahs in the entire Bereshit. It's really just just a handful. And like there's Ever Melacha, and there's the mitzvah to have children, and there's Brit Milah, and Geda Nasha. And there's a mitzvah not to eat the Geda Nasha. And it seems very out of place. Like of all the the mitzvahs that we have in Bereshit are having children, filling up the world with society. That's the big thing, Brit Milah, having a covenant with God. That's a big thing. But what's the Geda Nasha is that it's a certain nerve, a sciatic nerve it's called, which is on the leg of the animal, and you're not allowed to eat it. And it seems like a little bit exaggerated. Like why? How does that such an important mitzvah that it gets into the story before we start talking about mitzvahs at all? And so the truth is that it's coming as a result of a very fascinating story. And by analyzing the story, so we'll be able to understand a little bit about how this is such an important mitzvah. That it says that Yaakov Avinu, so after he had run away from his parents' house because Esav had wanted to kill him, so he was preparing to meet with him, and that's what happens in this week's parsha. That he's going to be meeting up with Esav, but on his way to meet with Esav, so he has an interesting encounter with this ish, with this person. And even though he's called a person, but soon we see that he's not exactly a regular human being, because at the end of the story, so he wrestles with a person, and this person wanted to get him down, but it says that he wasn't able to take him over. And he was only able to take a hold on his thigh, on this yarech, and this sciatic nerve of Yaakov Avinu. That's where this ish was able to hurt him, and then they were fighting. They continued to fight until the morning. It says. And then in the morning, he said, "I have to go," and he says, "I'm not going to let you go until you give me a blessing," and he gives him a new name, and this is the name that we have until today, Yisrael. This is the name Yisrael of Yaakov, which is Bnei Yisrael, Klal Yisrael, that Medinat Yisrael is that it's all from this. It's all from this encounter with this being. And he says, "Why am I calling you Yisrael? Ki sarita im Elokim ve'im anashim batucha," because you were able to wrestle and overcome with both people and the angelic and the godly. Okay? Meaning he was the godly and the humans was the Lavan. Lavan was that he had already had to overcome that. And so we see that he's not a regular person. So he calls himself Elokim. And similarly at the end of the parsha, so Yaakov says that he called this place Pinuel, Ki re'iti Elokim panim el panim v'teinaseh nafshi. I'm calling this place Pinuel because I saw God face to face. So he clearly understood that this encounter was not with a human being, this was with an angel. And in fact, Chazal, they know exactly which angel this was, and this was the Sarah Shel Esav. This was the angel of Esav, which was the angel of evil. Esav is the embodiment of evil in this world, and it's with this angel that he had been fighting the whole time. And so it's a very meaningful story. It's a very fundamental story because of what we said, that it's from this encounter that we get our name Yisrael, right? And Rabbi Sachs once said a very beautiful thing, and that is that it's from this that we learn the secret of the Jewish people, the secret of our eternalism, of how our invincibility lies in this story, and in this statement that the fact that we have struggles, but we refuse to give up the struggle until we take a blessing from that struggle. He wouldn't let him go. He knew that this was a big struggle. He knew that this was something very difficult, something that he even got hurt by. However, he refused to move on until he got a blessing from it. Okay, and this is an amazing thing. In Chassidut, this is a topic which is spoken about a lot. That the nitzotzot, the sparks of kedusha, which are hey, then that there's sparks of kedusha which can be found. You can come closer. You can come closer. There's the better food here. That in the deepest darkness, there's always kedusha, and in every struggle, there's some silver lining that we can take out of it. Right? Like somebody was asking me about this about this whole war, about like how we're supposed to make sense out of the fact that so many people were killed and raped and everything, and so I told her that we have no idea why this had to happen, but we do know one thing, that this is part of something big. This is part of this is not just a small thing. This is a part of the process of the Geula, and so it by definition is going to bring us somewhere better. After this happens, after this is over, we're going to be in a better place, and B'ezrat Hashem, that's certainly the plan. The plan is that because they did something so horrific, that's what is allowing us to completely destroy our enemies, and so that's there is a forward movement of how we're coming forward from this horrible tragedy, that there's a struggle, and we're not leaving the struggle without seeing that it's going to be a blessing. That we're gonna say that shalom, that there is a blessing for the fact that we had this war, because of this war. So from now on, so there is no Hamas. From now on, there is not going to be any Hezbollah. That there's going to be a blessing, and this Rabbi Sachs says is the secret of the Jewish people, that every struggle that we encountered, we refuse to leave the struggle without getting a blessing from it. So this, in this story, and this whole struggle, and this whole fighting, this wrestling with the angel of Esav. So the Meor Einayim, he starts with a very fascinating concept, very fascinating statement of the Zohar. The Zohar says that a person that eats on Tisha B'Av, it's as if he ate Gid Hanashe. Okay? So it seems very random, it seems okay, you're not supposed to eat Gid Hanashe, you're not supposed to eat on Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av. It's why of all things, why Gid Hanashe? Why you're also not supposed why doesn't it say it's as if you ate pork? I think that would make more sense. Anyway, who eats Gid Hanashe in the first place? What? What's Gid Hanashe? It's in the back. I think it's in the back legs of the animal. No, sorry, it's the front legs. No, I don't remember. It's either the front or the back. It's a sciatic nerve that on the animal, and it's in a place there's most of the meat that we get in supermarkets is from the place that you don't have to cut off the forbidden things. But there's some, it's more Sfaradim. They have the traditions. I know Yemenite people. Back legs is forbidden.
It's back legs.
Okay, so most of what we're eating is from the front. Because the back is where all the forbidden stuff. Thank you, and so, but they know how which part you have to cut off and which part you're allowed to eat. But most Ashkenazim just take off the whole back and they send it to the Arabs, and hopefully now they'll poison it a little bit first, and I'm being taped here, and so.
This will blow up.
What?
This will blow up.
So the blow up, yeah. So it says in the Zohar that the person that eats the on Tisha B'Av, it's as if he ate the Gidon Nasha, and it seems like a very random thing to say. So he's coming to explain this, and so he starts with a very, very fundamental teaching in Chassidus, and that is it's taken from a comment of the Ravid in his commentary on Sefer Yetzirah, and that is, it says in the pasuk when we got the Torah that the Har Sinai Ashan Kulo. Har Sinai was completely Ashan. Ashan means smoke. So the Ravid explains that what does it mean Ashan? It's an acronym. Olam, Shana, Nefesh. Okay? Olam, Shana, Nefesh. Olam is the world. Shana is the year. Nefesh is the soul. And he explains that Har Sinai, the Torah, can be explained on three parallel levels. Okay? That there's one level of Olam. Olam means the physical world. Shana is the year, meaning that there's different time periods, there's different time zones, different days in the year, and Nefesh, there's different parts of the soul. Okay? Meaning to say that just like the Torah is 365 actual actions that you can't do, and these are physical things, but they're corresponding to the different parts of the year. There's a time which is there's a time which is Shabbos. There's a time which is more connected to Tefillin. There's a time which is more connected to Lulav, obviously. There's a time which is connected to respecting your parents. There's a time which is, every single mitzvah has a certain time. Okay? And similarly, but Nefesh, in the Jewish soul, this is something we've spoken about before, that the soul has 365 different sinews. The soul has 248 organs. And when a person is keeping the Torah, so he is making his soul healthy. And so there's a correspondence between the physical world, Olam, and the Nefesh, and Shana. Okay? Meaning that just like there's a part of the soul which is corresponding to every part of the physical world, so too there's a part of the year which is also corresponding to that spiritual aspect. Okay, so this is what it means, Ashan. So this is a very, very fundamental thing on many levels. First of all, that this is the source of the connection between the body and the soul. Okay, this is one of the most basic things in Judaism, that there is a deep connection between the body and the soul, that a person that has a healthy soul is going to have a healthy body. A person that has a healthy body is going to have a healthy soul. Okay, so I've shared with you before the story with the Netziv. The Netziv would sometimes call a doctor when he had something wrong with him, and he'd ask the doctor for the diagnosis. And after hearing what's wrong, so the doctor would obviously prescribe something, and he would ignore the prescription, but he would understand from the diagnosis what part of his soul is messed up, and then he would just do tshuva. He would just perfect that aspect of his soul. He would understand, oh, that must mean, if that's what's wrong with me, it must mean that I'm getting angry too much. That's what's wrong. It must mean that I'm not being gentle enough. If that's what it means, it must mean I have to be more excited. It must mean I have to, whatever it was, that he understood which mitzvah is connected to the particular element, and that's how he did tshuva. And that's how he would heal himself. I'm sorry, that he didn't need doctors, because he understood that every physical element is rooted in a spiritual element. Okay? This is also very meaningful from the perspective of the Jewish calendar. Okay, meaning to say that what the Ravid is saying is that there's actually different times which have different vibes. Okay, meaning that sometimes that we're feeling down, and feeling like, whoa, why am I down? I shouldn't be down. And like nothing happened, nothing changed. It doesn't make any sense. And the truth is that this is just a sad time. That there's something in the air that is sad about this time. So that's affecting you, and you're just tapping into this sadness, and that's why you're down. And sometimes there's just a happiness in the air, and like nothing changed. You didn't get any good news, and suddenly everything's happy. Why? Because there's just a happiness in the air, because the world is constantly evolving just because the calendar is moving. Okay, so there's times which are times of happiness. There's times which are times of sadness, and there's times which are times of closeness, and there's times which are times of being detached. So he explains that when we're talking about the Gid HaNashem, so the Zohar says that this word Nashe. So where does it come from? So the word Gid HaNashe. So the Zohar says, "Ve'amai ikri Gid HaNashe." Why is this called the Gid HaNashe? Klomar Gid ihu Menashe libnei Nashe lepulchanon demarayim. It's a Gid that causes a person to be Menashe. Menashe means to forget. Like Menashe, the son of Yosef. So why did he call him Menashe? Ki nashani Elokim et kol amali et kol beit avi. Because he had thought that Hashem had forgotten him. Hashem had forsaken him. So Menashe is about forgetting. And so the word Nashe comes from the word forgetting. And so it's called Nashe because this is the part of you that makes us forget to serve Hashem. V'taman hu yetzer hara. And that's where the yetzer hara. So the yetzer hara is the part of our soul which is in charge of forgetting. It's in charge of forgetting. Okay? And so this is the where it gets its name from. Rabbi Nachman in Likutei Moharan has another insight on this, that the word Nashe also has a different connotation, and that is, it sounds like Nashim, meaning women. So what do we know? Okay, everybody be quiet, all the women here be quiet. What do we know about women? So that when it speaks in Chazal about women, so it says Rashi in Parshat Kisisa says Im kacha at osali, that Moshe says to Hashem that at osali, you're making me like an at, you're making me like a girl. What does it mean? It says tashash koicha kenekeva, that he became weak like a girl. Because once upon a time, apparently girls were weak. I don't know. Right now there's the whole discussion about having chaylot in Krav, about like how efficient it is, and they're very proud of all the chaylot Krav. Right? I'm not sure if all the guys are so happy about this, but really this is we're really talking about this in the news. I forgot the name but there's this disgusting trans girl swimmer that they would put on a women's bathing suit and swim faster than all the women swimmers, and they were all so first of all there was sexual harassment of the fact that they had to change in the same room and everything, and that was just horrible. But they're all just like, it's not fair. I worked my whole life to be the top of the game, and now it's just being taken away because some guy who obviously has a stronger body, and the world agrees. The world agrees. It's not chauvinist to say that men have stronger bodies than women, and that's Rabbi Nachman says that's another connotation of the word nashe. Meaning that nasha, besides being about forgetting, it's about being weak. Meaning that being connected to our Yetzer Hara makes us two things. It makes us forgetful and makes us weak. Okay? The person that's more connected to his Yetzer Hara is that you're just not in the mood. You're just low bali. I'm just like I don't have strength. I don't have koach. It's like that's what your Yetzer Hara. When you're in the hands of your Yetzer Hara, you're never going to have strength. You're just going to want to just do whatever I'm in the mood to do. Just anything that requires any effort, anything that requires any moving, any inertia. So I don't have the strength to do anything because I am being held captive in my Yetzer Hara. Okay? And that's number one. And number two is that the Yetzer Hara causes you to forget. It causes you to forget because if we would be aware of the reality, so then things would be very, very clear. We were talking about this before class. We don't. You never forget. You never shalom. Sound it. That you never forget and accidentally put a metal knife and put it into an electric socket, right? You don't forget, but you do. You sometimes forget and you speak lashon hara, right? So what's the difference? What's the difference? So I once heard a very good word. It's very, very simple. That because when we were kids, so one day we were speaking lashon hara, and our mother said, no, lashon hara, it's not nice. We don't speak lashon hara, and then the next day, so we were playing with a knife, and we were getting close to the electrical socket, and she was and so like we got it, so that it penetrated. Now I'm not going to forget that you don't put knives into electric sockets, but I forget because the things that were like, so that then we forget. It's like there's a way to say things. There's one of my band. So he would I forgot exactly what it was. He would always quote one of his Rebbeim, and somebody said, you must have how many years were you by this rabbi that you always quoting him? So he says the truth is that I was by him for only 3 months, but the thing is that 98% of everything that he said I remember, and 98% of everything that everybody else said I forgot. There's some people that they just the way they're able to communicate facts, so it penetrates and it goes in, and other people just what they're saying, the content that they're saying, the way they're saying it, it's just so the trick is to be able to have a mentality that we're aware of the dimension of spirituality in the world. That's the secret to mastering life, is to be able to remember that there's a God. If we're not gonna forget that there's a God, so we'll never do anything stupid. Right? It's really so simple. It's really very simple. And so this is the nasha. This is the gid nasha that he helps us with nashani. He helps us forget. He makes sure that we're always going to be unaware of the spiritual reality. Okay, so this is the gid nasha, and the gid nasha is the place in the physical world where Yaakov was the most susceptible. This is where he was the most. It was easy to damage him. This is the place that was easy to damage him. So when you're forgetting, then your guard is down. When your guard is down, so then it's easy. You're a prime target. You're a prime target when your guard is down. So that's what the Yetzer Hara wants. So now he moves to that. Let's try to analyze in the year. So we also have the times which we're at our best, we're at our strongest, and we have the times that we're the most susceptible, that we're the most vulnerable. So what's the time that we're the strongest? Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is where we are the strongest people on Yom Kippur. It says that Hasatan is the gematria of 364. So why is Hasatan 364? Because the 364 days a year that the Satan has the ability to be makatrig, to prosecute. So, and one day a year, so the Satan has no koach to prosecute, and that's Yom Kippur. Interestingly, somebody noted that in the Nova Festival, so there was 347 civilians murdered, 17 chayalim, altogether 364. That Hasatan, that the place where there was the vulnerability of evil, so that's Hasatan. That That was 364. So Yom Kippur is the time where they were invincible, the time that were power, that were powerful, that nobody can mess with us, even the Satan himself can't mess with us on Yom Kippur. And what's the time that we're the most vulnerable? That's Tisha B'Av. That's the time that we always get messed over. That's the time that we always get bullied up, the time that they destroy us, the time that they take us into exile. It's always on Tisha B'Av. So that's the place in the year that we are the most vulnerable, it's the easiest to hurt us on Tisha B'Av. So that's why in this world of Ashan, of Olam, for the physical reality, and the Zman, the Shana, so the Shana, the part of the year that's corresponding to Gid HaNasha is Tisha B'Av. And in the soul, it's corresponding to the Yetzer Hara. Okay, in the Nefesh, it's Yetzer Hara. So this is the connection between Tisha B'Av and Gid HaNasha, and that's why it says that Kol ha'ochel b'Tisha B'Av ki'ilu ochel b'Gid HaNasha. Meaning that this is that of all the things, like we said, why doesn't it say pork? Why doesn't it say basar v'chalav? What's so special about Gid HaNasha? Gid HaNasha is the time, the place in the world that we are the most vulnerable, the place that's easier to hurt us. Okay, so that's why it has to be specifically connected to that. So it says that this war of this battle, the struggle that we were having with this angel of evil. So it says that this went on ad alot hashachar, until the morning. So what does that mean? So Nachman Shonalbo explains that when we're talking about night represents galut. Night represents exile. Night represents when the dark has power, when the darkness has power. So alot hashachar, that's when the light, that's when the geula. It says that when Mashiach comes, that we won't need the sun anymore for light. Ki Hashem yeh orcha, that the Hashem will be your light, and that we won't need like artificial light anymore. And we say in Tehillim, Nafshi Hashem yishamim laboker, that my soul is to Hashem. We say this in Shem Alas, Nafshi Hashem yishamim laboker, shamim laboker, that my soul is to Hashem, like those who are waiting for the morning. So that this entire exile is called a darkness. There's a famous Gemara Yerushalmi that there were sages that were watching the sunrise. They were watching the sunrise from the dawn, and they were noticing that it takes a very long time. It's actually very interesting how it gets dark relatively quickly, but to get light, it's much from the time of the first light till the sun actually rises. It takes much longer time. So one out to the other, that kachi gula tansha Yisrael, kima, that the geula is a very, very slow process, meaning that the sun rising is a metaphor for the geula, and that's because the reason why it takes so long for the sun to rise is because it takes a long time for the geula to come, to overcome the galut. Okay, so the night is always representing the exile, and the day is always representing the geula, and so what is the greatest expression of the fact that we're in galut? So Menachem says that it says in Eicha that Malka v'Sarah b'Goyim ein Torah, that when our leaders were in exile as ein Torah, that there's no Torah, that when we're in galut. So one of the worst things about galut is that we have a lack of da'at, we have a lack of understanding, we have a lack of being able to think straight. Okay, and that's really the most tragic thing, the lack of clarity, which is obviously also expressed by darkness. Like darkness is when you can't see things. So the worst thing about Galut is that we're just mixed up. We don't know what's good for us. We don't know what we really want. And when Gula comes, so it says that Umala ha'aretz datat Hashem kamayim li'amachasim, that the world is going to be full of dat Hashem, of understanding God, like the same way that the ocean fills the ocean bank. And it says that when the Gula comes, that kikulam yodim osim miktanim v'agadlam. It says that they all know me. They're just going to understand. Hashem is saying, the entire world, the entire Jewish people is going to understand me, from the smallest to the largest to the oldest, and that everyone's just going to understand Hashem. It's going to understand life. Everybody's going to just finally have clarity, like no more being mixed up. There's a Yiddish word that I love. It's just, I think it really, like, mixed up in Yiddish is verblundert. So I think it's just very, it hits the nail on the head. It's like when you're blunted. What? Lost. Okay. So when we're in Galus, we're just lost. We're just completely mixed up, and this is what this darkness, this Vayavek Ishimo, this struggle with this angel. So it's going ad alos hashachar. It's going until the Geula. That when the Geula is going to come, then that will be the end of the night. That will be the end of the struggle. That will be the end of the Yetzer Hara. And why? Because then we're going to stop forgetting. We're going to stop. It'll be like somebody's going to turn on the light, and like we won't be able to forget that, like, what we're doing. We forget that, like. Somebody said that I think the Lubavitch Rebbe told somebody one of the Hasidim said about the Lubavitch Rebbe that what he was to them, that you could have a lion that forget that he's a lion, that he thinks that he's a house cat, and so the Rebbe, so what he just reminded us that don't forget you're a lion. And so just like a person could have everything you need, you could have everything, all the power you need, and all the you forget what you're doing, you forget what life is all about, and you go all in the wrong path, and sometimes just it's very like a flick of a switch, so just everything becomes very clear. I'll tell you an amazing story. The story happened over a couple of years, over a number of years, and that it's a story about a man named Shalom Rosenfeld. Okay, this Shalom Rosenfeld. So he was in the yeshiva in Belz by Aaron Belzer. Okay, and so in the yeshiva in Belz, so there were like a select few that they were called the Yoshvim, that they were like his prized pupils, that he would he would prepare the class with them, and like he would give them special attention. So this Shalom Rosenfeld, so he was one of the Yoshvim of Aaron Belzer, and he was very, 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 like a very big genius, but he was like a little bit of a rebbe. Like people would just observe him, just the way he would daven. He would daven for hours, and just with such a devotion, such a connection, and he would just learn for like 7 hours at a time. And it was just like everything was just very sweet and very, just being around him. You just wanted to be closer to God, And so he was something. It was something to behold, not much something to behold, and so then the Holocaust came, and so everybody scattered. And he found his way somewhere to Russia, and so when he was in Russia, so he got some job, and he's got a job working at a printing press. And apparently, in this printing press, so there were a lot of books which were not bedats, and like various like heretical, like atheist. Kind of anti-spiritual kind of books, and he was because he was working in the press, he was reading them and whatever, and so he became an atheist. He dropped everything. He dropped everything, and so he started living a life living a completely secular, non-Jewish life, and somehow word got to his old friends from yeshiva that Shalom Rosenfeld became secular, and it broke their hearts. But the one that broke their heart the most was his chavrusa. His chavrusa was named Elia Rut. Okay, Elia Rut was a famous personality because he was the gabbai of, do you know who? Shlomo Mizvil. Okay, he was the gabbai of Shlomo Mizvil. I believe I told the story in the biography of Shlomo Mizvil when we're doing that. So he was mamish broken about this because he knew how great he was, and so every time he tried to speak to him, and he tried to get other people to speak to him, and he was a nice guy. He was still a nice guy. Just whenever the conversation got to religion, so it was look, son, I appreciate that you care about me, but it's not for me. I'm not interested. And it's a brick wall. There's no one to speak to. Anyway, so eventually Shalom Rosenfeld, he made his way to Israel. He married some secular girl, and they were living on a kibbutz. But Elirat, so he never gave up, and every single time, so he was with Rav Shlomo Zveler. Rav Shlomo Zveler had this very, very unique custom that when he would read Kvitlach, when he would people would give him Kvitlach for the letters for blessings, so the way he would do it is he would go to the mikvah, and Rebbe Rat would read him the name, and he would dunk, and then he would give the bracha. Mm-hmm. And so very very unique, very, very special. And so every time that when he would finish, so I don't know, every once in a week, but he would say Shalom B'chana L'tshuva Shlema, and every time it was the same response, that he would dunk, and he would be silent. There would be no response. He couldn't give the bracha. He saw in his Ruach HaKodesh that there was nothing to do, but he didn't give up. And for years and years and years, so every time that he was doing this Kvitlach, so at the end of every Kvitlach, so he would say Shalom B'chana for Tshuva Shlema, and after 15 years of this happening, so one time, so Rav Shamka said that he won't leave this world without doing tshuva, and he was just overjoyed. But he understood from the bracha that it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen overnight, and so but he was just I used to say keeping your fingers crossed, but then I looked up. It actually is avodah zarah. You shouldn't say keep your fingers crossed. You should keep your fingers Magen David did. So he was keeping us. He was hoping. He was wishful. He understood that the Rebbe said, if the Rebbe says, then the Rebbe was smart enough not to give a bracha until now, and if now he changed his mind, so that means that something good's going to happen. So fast forward 40 years, and so Reb Shlomo Zveler is no longer with us, but Rebbe Rat is very old, and the story gets back to him that there's this old man and he's living on this kibbutz, and out of nowhere, so he tells his Filipino worker, I need a tefillin, and the Filipino doesn't know what a tefillin is, so he asked somebody, he said, we need a tefillin. So where do we get a tefillin? So he calls up some Chabad rabbi, and we need somebody here asking for a tefillin. I said, oh great, I love putting on tefillin. So the Chabad guy runs over and he starts so he says, here, let me help you. And he looks at him you come on, I'm okay, and he starts putting on, and and he starts saying the bracha with a deep Hasidic accent, and the Chabad guy doesn't understand what's going on. He was sure this is the first time in his life he's putting on tefillin, and he says to him, could you give me a Gemara? And he says, sure. Which Gemara? So he says, well, when I left the shir, we were doing Bav Metzia, so let's do Bav Metzia. So he goes back and he gets two Bav Metzias and they start learning together, and he starts repeating to him what Rabban Berzor had been saying shir 50 years ago. Wow. And you see him, and he's davening for 2 hours every morning, and he's learning for 7 hours at a time, and so it was just the weirdest thing. So his granddaughter goes over to him and he says, Saba, what happened? You were normal. How do you just flipped out? What's going on? So he said, I had these bilbulim. For many years I just had this confusion, and now this confusion went away. It's that simple. It's that simple that the Yetzer Hara is just nasheh. It just makes us forget. It makes us lost. It makes us falbundred. It makes us just that we're unaware of reality, and that's when we're weak. But the truth is that when the Geula comes, everything is just going to be very, very clear. Everything's going to be very, very obvious, and it's not going to be a struggle anymore. It'll be just out of nowhere. Just someone turned on a light, and then we can see. So this is the Gid HaNasha about forgetting. Now, so Reb Nachum says that there's also another aspect of Gid HaNasha, and that is that everything about the world of evil, everything about the world of the Yetzer Hara, the world of the Sitra Achra, so it's called the world of Achorayim, of Achor B'Achor, being back to back. Being back to back, this represents the greatest distance that you could be from somebody. Right? When you're back to back, even though your backs are touching, but you can't be any further from somebody than when your back is to them. Okay? So he says this is represented in the story of Yaakov Avinu, and I was curious. He doesn't explain where he sees this in the pasuk, but I was looking at the Parshat, and it says Vayivater Yaakov levado. And Yaakov was alone, and that's when bad things happen. When you're alone, when you're detached. That the opposite of being alone is when you're in a relationship, when you're connected. Okay, so that's why that being in the state where you're vulnerable in your Gid HaNasheh, that is symbolized by Achor B'Achor, and the greatest connection is Panim B'Panim. And so now, when is it that we have Panim B'Panim? That is on Matan Torah. When we have Matan Torah, that it says Panim B'Panim Diber Elokim Etchem Mitoch Ha'esh. That's when we have face to face, and that is when the Da'at comes down. That's when our understanding comes down. That's when the Torah comes down. That's when everything starts to make sense again. So this is the two aspects of the Gid HaNasheh is number one that we're forgetful, and number two we're alone. And we're detached. And so the way to overcome this is, number one, to make sure that we have constant reminders, to have constant things that are not letting ourselves just keep on going. To have things that are constantly going to remind us of the way things are. That's why it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful that we have this thing called davening 3 times a day. That just the fact that it's in our schedule that we're talking to God 3 times a day, so it helps us just not get carried away. We have to check in. We have to check in. When you get married, your husbands have to call you a couple of times. at least for the first couple of years, right? That like during the day you go out in the morning. So like in the middle of the day you talk on the phone. You have to check in. You have to check in. So that's what we're doing with Hashem. Like we start the day, like we start the day. We check in the middle of the day. We again before we go to sleep. We're constantly checking in because if we're not going to be checking in, so it's so easy to forget. So this is what keeps us. That the da'at is what keeps us connected. Okay, and this is how the Torah is telling us how to overcome the Yetzer Hara, how to overcome all of these struggles. And Rabbi Nachman says that this is actually what makes us strong. That the Gidon Asher is to overcome the femininity in us, so to speak, meaning the weakness in us. That the way we become strong is by simply reminding ourselves, because like the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, that we're always lions. It's just that we forgot. We just need to remind ourselves. We got carried away. We thought there were house cats, and just this simple reminder that actually, you're a prince. You're a princess. That you can reach the highest levels. You can conquer the world. You can do it. You can really make it in life. So this reminder, this is what gives us strength. So I bless us all that we should be able to kill all of the spiritual Yetzer Haras and all the physical Yetzer Haras, every last Palestinian of them, and we should remember how strong we are. We should remember how strong we are, and we should never not forget our mission. And this is what's going to make clarity in the world. This is what's going to give just this wake up call, this eureka moment of the world, that everything is just gonna become clear. Oh yeah, the Jews are the good guys. I forgot. And we're gonna remember that. Yeah, I want to be close to Hashem. I forgot. It's gonna be very, very easy. We're just gonna be overcoming this forgetfulness, B'ezrat Hashem. All right, l'chaim, l'chaim.